Lakers got blown out, trounced, destroyed. I totally get it. But I just got an aside. I just got a side story. Did you see Damian Lillard put on an epic show for the ages? Steph Curry, I don't know. Steph Curry, I don't know. I just don't know right now. Steph Curry, I just don't know right now. We gotta discuss. We gotta discuss the shoot. Wait, I'm stuttering. Damn it. That's what Dame Lillard got me doing this morning. First takes in the house. Let's go.
Tough to close a team out. Brooklyn trying to put the Celtics away.
I had to level up, I was too patient. Back to the hood, we going back to the basics.
Kyrie Irving went full Uncle Drew right there.
Hey, right now, cut back at this thing. Here we go.
Flooding my reach, if you play, you get kinda lit.
Tatum is cash money. Durant, Irving, Harden, 15,000 plus on their feet as the Brooklyn Nets will advance to round 2.
Another one.
I like that beat, and I got some heat for you. Breaking news on First Take on a Wednesday. This morning, our Adrian Wojnarowski reporting Boston Celtics president of basketball operations Danny Ainge seriously considering his future with the franchise and could make a decision to step down. Good day. Welcome to First Take. Hello, Max and I in studio. Stephen A. Talk to me.
An undisclosed location.
Yeah. What's your reaction to this news?
Well, I think that we have to recognize the fact that Danny Ainge is one of the best executives in the sport. He's done a pretty damn good job at the helm for the Boston Celtics. They have a championship. They've had a big three. They've been a perennial playoff contender. First with KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Rondo. Then after that with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They went to 3 conference titles in a conference championship series in the last 4 years before this season. Let's give credit where credit is due. When he hired Brad Stevens out of Butler, that was definitely something that nobody saw coming. And Brad Stevens, even though we've got our questions about him at this particular juncture, the bottom line is that overall he's done a good job. And you've got cornerstones of your franchise in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who are 24 and 22 years old, respectively. And so when you look at it from that perspective, we can't sit up here and acknowledge or fail to acknowledge that Danny Ainge hasn't done a good job, because he has done a good job. You're just looking for him to pull the trigger on that big deal and get it done and get them over the hump again. And that was something he was incredibly reluctant to do. So that is what it is. You respect him. You respect the job that he's done. But as long as they've got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown there, it should be a job most executives should clamor for.
Let me make this real simple. Danny Ainge is a very good GM. He's not just good, he's a very good GM. Put that camera on me and I'll finish this thought. But he's not good enough. That's the issue. He's not good enough. I understand this, Stephen A., as a Yankees fan. Brian Cashman is an excellent GM. I'm a Yankees fan. I expect to win the World Series more than any other team. If that doesn't happen, the GM's not good enough, period. Certainly not when your rivals are outperforming you over a period of time. That means you're not good enough. The Celtic standard, right? There's only one standard that's even better than the Celtic standard in the history of the NBA. That's the Lakers standard. Same number of championships, but the Lakers have done far more in the modern era. You know, shot clock, three-point, absorption of the ABA teams, however you want to define modern era, Lakers dominated. But the Celtics have also been excellent in the modern era, and they have that kind of standard. Like, if we're not the best, if we're not in it every year, if the argument can't be made that we're the number one franchise, our GM's not good enough. Danny Ainge has done, you pointed out, I don't want to go all over it all again, but he's done an excellent job. They're a powerhouse most seasons. And how long have we been sitting here, Stephen A., going, ooh, they're that one tweak away from getting over the top. And as much as it's, Trader Danny and all that stuff, he never seems to be able to pull the trigger on that one move where going into the season you go, oh, the Celtics got this. Not that they're going to be competitive, but no, this is the team to beat. And he's had plenty of years to do it, and he's come close, and he's had plenty of resources, which he deserves credit for, but he hasn't gotten it done. Very good, not good enough for the Celtics.
Well, in this day and age, particularly with super teams being assembled and things of that nature, and no one clamoring to go to Boston, Massachusetts, obviously it's going to be a very difficult task. And I'd like to remind everybody, as much credit as we want to give Danny Ainge, a lot of credit should go to Doc Rivers, because Doc Rivers was on a hot seat years ago in Boston because Danny Ainge hadn't given him any players. Paul Pierce at the time wanted out. This is back in like 2007, 2008. Paul Pierce wanted out, okay? But then Danny Ainge obviously got KG, and obviously they got Ray Allen as well. And so the combination of the two obviously made them a big three. And when you see players that wanted to come there thereafter, it had a lot to do with Doc Rivers. See, Jaylen Brown was drafted, and Jason Tatum is drafted. Danny Ainge going out there and acquiring some big-time free agent. He's not the greatest recruiter in the world. He can build a franchise, but he's not the greatest recruiter. And in this day and age, I think you're going to require that, and that's why you need somebody else probably other than him.
It's a great point, especially in the Northeast. You're not in a no-tax state. You're not in a sunshine state. You're right.
All right. Again, Woj with the bomb this morning. Let's get to their ultimate rival. You know who that is? The Lakers. Last night, an absolute demolition in Phoenix, y'all. They got the brakes beat off them without Anthony Davis. Phoenix now leads the series 3-2. LeBron had 24, 5, and 7. The King not sugarcoating anything.
Just got our ass kicked. I mean, it's just that simple. They got to whatever they wanted to get to in this game, and we got to be better, obviously, if we want to force a game 7. So, I mean, it's literally win or go home at that point. So, you shoot all the bullets you got and throw the gun too. So, I look forward to the environment. Obviously, our Laker faithful going to give us a lot of energy, and I look forward to the moment. I look forward to the challenge, and see what brings out the best of me and my teammates.
The Lakers, one loss shy of becoming the 6th defending champion to lose in the first round under the NBA's current playoff format. It would be LeBron's first time going home in the first round. He entered the playoffs 14-0 in the opening round. Stephen A., you're up first. Who's most accountable for the Lakers' blowout loss?
Well, I'm going to put most of the onus on LeBron James and Coach Frank Vogel. I mean, listen, it's a game 6. It's not a game 7. It's not the end. You don't write the epitaph of LeBron James because of this, because there is a game 6, rather, because this was game 5. There is a game 6, potentially a game 7. So it's not over. But you knew what was stacked against you, particularly with Anthony Davis out. And here you are, you show up. And I know that you made passes and guys weren't shooting open shots. I get all of that. Other times they were missing. And I'll let Max get into all of that, because there were a few people on the Los Angeles Lakers that were pathetic. They were soft. They were weak. They came across as a team that conceded the game pretty much minutes into it. But LeBron's the leader. And guess what? He didn't look much better. So I'm going to put that on him, because it's not just about you scoring your points or whatever. It's you galvanizing the troops and leading in the way that you're supposed to. He didn't do that last night. But the big onus, a bigger onus to me, falls on Coach Frank Vogel. See, it's moments like this where you get reminded that Frank Vogel wasn't their first choice. He really wasn't their second choice. It's just that because of somewhat of a checkered past against Jason Kidd, he couldn't be the guy that was hired to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Because I'm here to tell you as a point of fact that Jeannie Buss wanted Jason Kidd to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, which is why everybody was contemplating, how long is Frank Vogel going to be there? But props to Frank Vogel, who came in and won the chip last year and had them ready to play in the bubble. But last night, Mr. Vogel, Coach Vogel, where the hell was your defense? I mean, we saw guys running layup lines. We saw guys shooting uncontested, wide open three-point shots. We saw them pushing the ball up the floor and guys not getting back. We saw you put forth a starting 5 last night that hadn't started together all season long, if I remember correctly. And by the way, where the hell is Montrezl Harrell? Where the hell is he? Okay? Because it's just inexcusable that you haven't found a way to use this dude who's the 6th man of the year. You brought him there. I understand that Andre Drummond is a bigger body. He can play. He was serviceable with his 13 rebounds, 4 offensive. But Montrezl Harrell is an Energizer Bunny. He's a dog, and I mean that in a positive way. He's a dog. Where the hell is he? You got to put him out there. You know Anthony Davis is not reliable. Now, I'm not going to disrespect Anthony Davis because if you injured, you injured. And he's got multiple injuries to the same leg, Max. And I get that. But damn, you got Charles Barkley on the air. I mean, if ever there was a time Charles Barkley was hilarious and made you fall out of your chair, it was last night when he called Anthony Davis street clothes.
Yeah, pull up we have his injury history for this season, if we can pull that up.
I mean, that was just hilarious, okay? And I ain't knocking. I don't like to chide Anthony Davis because you injured, and I respect that. But the bottom line is he's an injury-prone player. You know this, Frank Vogel. How in the hell do you not prepare the Los Angeles Lakers, particularly your front line, to be able to play without Anthony Davis, at least defensively, at least when it comes to rebounding, at least when it comes to having some kind of interior presence? That's on Frank Vogel. Yeah. So I'm just looking at it, Max, and I'll hand it off to you by saying this. LeBron James, listen, it's on the line. I don't want to hear no damn GOAT conversations. It was never an issue with me. I don't want to hear. You better show up in Game 6 and be not just a great player we know you to be, somebody who's worthy of being on a Mount Rushmore. You better galvanize these troops and get these boys ready because your teammates look soft. They look weak. Last night, they just got straight pumped. You down by 30 in the first half.
Let's get Max in here.
That's what happened.
The person most responsible for the loss, and it took a lot of people to have a loss like that. Like, you could say whatever you want. I don't know what happened in the second half of that game. Anyone watching the second half of that game? Everyone was watching Denver and Portland. 20 down, 27 down, 30 points at the half. Get out of here. The person most responsible for the loss is Dennis Schroeder. That's the person most responsible. And I don't want to hear, Stephen A., the particulars about what role needs to be filled now that AD's not playing. It's much simpler than that. Your best player is LeBron. He was able to play. Your second best player is AD. He couldn't go. Your third best player is Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder turned down $84 million because he wants $100 million. He's the third best player on the team. He has to step up and be the second best player. The big question was, okay, Schroeder's better than Rondo in the regular season. We're not in the regular season now. We're in the playoffs, and there's playoff Rondo. What's playoff Schroeder look like? There's no such thing as playoff Schroeder, apparently. Stephen A., here are the numbers from Schroeder last night. 0 for 9 shooting, 0 for 4 from 3. He had 1 assist and no points. When you needed this dude to step up, he had 0 points. Not in the first quarter, in the game. 0 points. The first Laker to go scoreless in a playoff game while shooting 9+ shots since the franchise moved to LA. So you can talk to me about Montrezl Harrell and Andre Drummond and how coach should have used them and LeBron not stepping up enough and everything else. Your wannabe $100 million point guard needed to step up, and he gave you 0 points. He did something that no one has ever done with the Los Angeles Lakers. If you're looking for one guy to blame, Schroeder deserves it most.
Please, no disrespect, Max. You're not wrong. I'm not trying to imply that you're wrong with what you're saying about Schroeder himself and his pathetic, weak, impotent performance. You're absolutely right. But it's an absolute joke if you acting like he the cause of what the hell happened last night. You could have a bad game like that from Schroeder and still be a bit more respectable. Understand that we're not here talking about how the Lakers lost a game. If we just talked about how they lost Game 5, we dissect how they lost Game 5. All right, you roll back to the Staples Center for Game 6. This conversation is about a beatdown that took place in Phoenix. A straight-up beatdown. They got punked, yo. I mean, these brothers rolled up on the court. Phoenix said, get the hell out of the state. And they did it in inside of 15 minutes. We got Snoop Dogg on Instagram talking about the Clippers. The Clippers.
So you had Snoop talking Clippers. You did something.
The Snoop Dogg wears purple and gold. Snoop Dogg got a card draped in purple and gold. Snoop Dogg I've been at the compound, Max. I've been at the compound. The Snoop compound. Lakers stuff everywhere. Snoop Dogg was the one going crazy when Kobe dropped 60 on his last night in the NBA. God rest his soul. Snoop Dogg was on Stephen A's World on ESPN Plus. The Clippers. The Clippers? And this brother goes on Instagram and it's like, yo, it's about the Clippers now because the Lakers are soft. He called the Lakers soft. He said they can't guard. He talked about Coach Frank Vogel and how he needed to be fired. He brought up Montrezl Harrell. I mean, my God, that was a beat down. And they better show up in Gates. Molly, I got to fly to. I was planning on being in New York, looking forward to enjoying my next few weeks. The weather nice, it's beautiful. The weather, you see outside the pier at South Street Seaport. I was planning on being in New York. I got to fly to LA tomorrow. I got to be there.
We all feel very sorry for you.
Because
we feel very sorry for you. Molly, do you feel sorry for Stephen A?
I always feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Our sympathies,
It could be the end. It could be the end. LeBron James, first time going home in the first round.
All right, let me just say this. LeBron James, keep in mind, has the most points per game when facing elimination. More than MJ, more than Wilt. So it ain't over, folks. Let's keep it going, though. All I have to say is 55. Dame time all night long. One of the most incredible postseason performances ever. Lillard, 55 points, an NBA playoff record, 12 three-pointers, and the Trailblazers double overtime loss at Denver in Game 5 on Tuesday. Lillard broke the record of 11 set by Klay Thompson. That was in 2016, Game 6 against OKC. Dame Dalla.
Tough loss, man. It's do or die now, so we got to win both of the next two games if we want our season to continue. As simple as that.
But after what you gave, just personally,
it don't matter. We lost the game, so at this point, all that matters is we can't lose another game in this series. So we go out there, we play to win the game, and we came up short. So we going back home. It's a must win, or else our season is over, and then we got to come back here and win on their floor again. So, that's what it is.
How do you not root for that guy? Dame caused quite a stir on social media last night. Patrick Mahomes, Dame Lillard is crazy. Steph Curry chimed in. Dame Lillard, that's all I have to say. Donovan Mitchell, wow. Stephen A., where does Lillard's performance rank?
I have no idea. All I can tell you is that it's up there. It's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in all my life. What a listen, I've seen Jordan drop 63 at the Garden. I've seen Kobe drop 81. I've seen Devin Booker drop 70, and it's appropriate to bring Devin Booker's name up when he just dropped 30 on the Lakers last night, okay? I've seen LeBron and Kobe drop 60. I've seen great performances from Dwayne Wade. But this brother, Damian Lillard, oh my God. See, I just get sad. I'm sad over three things. I'm sad at his supporting cast. I'm sad at his coach. And I'm sad at the market he's playing in. I'd give anything for Damian Lillard to be in a market like New York City. My God. This brother, when it comes to clutch time, and then here's the thing. Let me just break this down. I'm sad because I watched the brother drop 12 threes. I saw him drop a 3 at the end of regulation, 2 threes in the first overtime. This brother just brings you back, just keeps coming. He's just a sniper extraordinaire, the likes of which we haven't seen this side of Steph Curry, okay? And when you talk about clutch, you bring up Michael Jordan and the rest of the crew because he's right there when it comes to clutch, okay? And then you see this brother take the ball out of his hands and feed Robert Covington for a dunk. Covington, a veteran, not a rookie. He misses it. On another play, he gives the ball to C.J. McCollum. Now, I love C.J. I don't like the fact that he shot 31% last night. Good brother, great shooter, you beautiful backcourt mate, even though I'm on the record stating those two will never win together because the combination of the two, they're both relatively small guards, and I think you need one bigger than smaller, and I think that you use one as a tradable asset to get what you need to put with the other. That's my personal opinion, Max. But you're CJ McCollum, and you a veteran who plays on this basketball court all the time, and you step out of bounds with the game on the line.
Yeah, we have that play. Can we pull that up, guys? The last 12 seconds, double overtime, what Stephen A. is talking about?
Yeah, come on. You just can't make a mistake like that. I understand no one's flawless. All of us are imperfect, okay? You cannot make that mistake.
McCollum's usually reliable
when you got. That's right. He is. I'm not trying to throw any shade on him. I'm just talking about the one play.
You're not wrong what you're saying.
You cannot make that mistake.
But
Look,
Max, could you argue that you wouldn't have seen somebody like an MJ or Kobe do that there and give him the ball? Like, Dame had taken the shot there.
No. MJ gave it up. MJ gave it up to Paxson. They would do it too, Molly. I can't criticize Damian Lillard for the mistakes for Covington missing a dunk or for McCollum, who's normally clutch, stepping out of bounds. That's not Lillard's fault. It's an all-time great performance. To answer the question, it's as good a clutch performance as you want to see. But I want to be very clear about this. The best player in the game was the Joker. Get over it, America. The Joker was the MVP this year, and no one wanted that to be the case. We all wanted it to be Damian Lillard, but it was Jokic. In the game last night, the reason Lillard had our jaws on the floor, it was jaw-dropping the way he kept it. They were dead, and he would shoot them back into it. Late in regulation, and then he hits 3 after 3, and then the 3 to tie the game to send it to overtime. But you know why? Because the Joker was controlling the game. Then overtime starts. The Joker controls the game. He's the point center. He's finding open guys. Of course, he's not shooting it like Lillard. He did wind up with 38, 11, 9, and 4 blocks. But no, he cannot shoot like Lillard. No, he can't shoot in the clutch like Lillard. But the reason Lillard's clutch heroics were needed was because the Joker was controlling overtime. And then Lillard does it again and gets them to double OT. The Joker was the best there, too. He controlled it there, too. He's the MVP of the league. He was the best player in the game last night. And, of course, he will be overshadowed by the heroics of Damian Lillard. Those heroics, which were all-time great. No argument there. Remember when I was telling you, Stephen A., earlier, I know we can debate it later, that Steph Curry, except for when it counts most, and Lillard does a fair enough impersonation of Steph normally, that since he's better under pressure, give me Damian Lillard. I'm not taking anything away from Lillard. But the best player in the game last night was the Joker, and that's why his team won.
Well, first of all, I would appreciate it if you wouldn't make it so obvious that you didn't watch the entire game, because I know the second game was past your bedtime, Max. I know the second game was past your bedtime, because evidently you didn't watch the game. As the greatest Joker as Jokic was, I'm sorry, I saw Michael Porter drop 26. I saw Monte Morris drop 28, and he was phenomenal in the second half. I understand that it ain't just about scoring, it's about passing too, and you had Jokic feeding them. I get all of that. But these brothers were making shots. And when you look at the best player on the court last night, Jokic was absolutely phenomenal. I get it. Nurkic should be ashamed of himself, because you see somebody like him, you got to put Enes Kanter on Jokic, because you know Nurkic wouldn't be able to do anything with them.
No, because Nurkic fouled out.
At it from. I understand that, but I'm saying, what did I say about Nurkic the other day is my point. I understand he fouled out. The point that I'm trying to make, he can't deal with the brother. He can't. You know what? You got an offense. Make him work. Cause him some problems. But Nurkic can't do that when it comes against Jokic. In the end, Damian Lillard was the best player on the court last night. The difference is Jokic had help, and Damian Lillard did it. Because there was a whole bunch of dudes shooting in the 30 percentile last night for Portland. They made mistakes too. They didn't show up to help Dame.
All right. I got to wrap you up here, Stephen A., because I got some more breaking news here. This again from Woj on the Danny Ainge situation. Here's the latest. Let me read it to you on Twitter here. He's expected to step down as president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics. Brad Stevens is expected to assume a more prominent role, a front office role with the team. Stevens moving into the front office on a full-time role and expected to start a search for a new head coach. Sources telling ESPN Celtics staff and coaches have been informed of those changes. Wow. We got all that? We'll react to it in a minute. Let me get in a break. Stay here. Plenty more to come here. I want to give you guys a chance to react to it. So again, Danny Ainge expected to step down as president of basketball ops for the Celtics. Brad Stevens moves into the front office full-time. And the Celtics are expected to start a search for a new head coach. Staff and coaches have been informed of these changes. Stephen A., talk to me.
I'm torn. I like Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens is a good coach. He came into this season. He's been to the conference finals now 3 times in the last 5 years. I understand that. But Molly and Max Kellerman and the producers, put us on the split screen, please, because I want to look at Molly and Max when I ask this question. If I remember correctly, did we not on several occasions have conversations this year about whether or not Brad Stevens was going to last as head coach of the Boston Celtics because of what a roller coaster ride this season has been and how it seemed like the young talent that you had available to you didn't seem on the same page. And as a result, it might be time for a new voice. I recall that being the case.
Yeah.
So we go through all of that. You get bounced out in the first round, albeit to the Brooklyn Nets, who most people believe are the favorites. And obviously you didn't have Jaylen Brown, and that's to be acknowledged. You had what can only be described as a suspect relationship with the Marcus Smarts of the world, according to reports and things of that nature. And you're moving upstairs to the front office? You see, it's moments like this where I get on people's nerve, particularly white America and the NBA community specifically, because I point out it's beautiful to be a white guy. It's just beautiful. You know, you're a question mark as a coach in some people's eyes, including in Boston. But somehow, some way, you moving upstairs. And the paucity of opportunities for African Americans continue to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. We talked about the coach. We didn't even get into black folks in executive positions. We got one black man with power. I'm talking about he's the final say on basketball. I'm not talking about black folks sprinkled here and there in the front office where you're in the room and you play a role in the decision making. And I'm talking about one dude, and his name is Masai Ujiri in Toronto. We don't even have in the NBA a black dude in the United States that's making the final call on basketball-related matters. And somehow, some way, Brad Stevens, who I like, who I believe deserves to be a head coach on this level, a shaky season, and he's going upstairs. That's my reaction to this, Max. I actually don't give a damn about anything else pertaining to the Boston Celtics right now. That's where my mind is.
Well, I understand
it's
it.
It's just a beautiful thing sometimes.
I'm not saying that what you're bringing up doesn't have something to it. I don't know if it applies here or not. I don't know if it applies here or not. Masai Ujiri is interesting because when you point that out, the one
if what
black
man,
man.
I understand, Max. If what applies
I'll explain.
If what applies
Masai Ujiri,
okay.
that there's a racial component to it that is explicitly or unfair, right? Masai Ujiri is an interesting case because I think it's a powerful one. He is the one black man who has the final say, you're saying, in basketball operations. He is not African American, he's African, and he doesn't actually work in the United States, he works in Canada. That's interesting. Maybe that's just a big coincidence, but that is interesting, and I think it's a powerful example that points out what you mean. I think about someone like Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, who's won a championship. He did it in a league where he had a big three. No one else did. And he won one championship. And I think Doc is a great coach. Let me just say that. He's a great coach. I think most people agree. And he gets the Clippers job where he's GM and coach. And that's not working out because he was a bad GM. But still a great coach. They take GMing away, but they keep him as coach. And eventually it seems like the Clippers and Doc kind of lost interest in each other. And he immediately gets a plum job. Like, who wouldn't want that Sixers job? That's a real good job, and gets the job as a Sixers coach. And here we are again saying, boy, Doc better not blow another 3-1 lead because he's getting known for that. But we know he's a great coach. Whatever the circumstances kind of make him look bad here, but we know that Doc is a great coach. Brad Stevens is known as an excellent basketball mind. Now, what you're referring to in terms of his not using pieces properly, and I don't know about that. I don't know. Or maybe losing some of the locker room. You mentioned how players can drown out the same voice after a while. He's been there for a minute. Maybe it's a personality issue with certain players. That can happen as a coach, but they still value his basketball acumen. And he was groomed by Danny Ainge, who was a successful GM. And so they can have some continuity with him in the front office. I hear what you're saying, and at times you and I are lockstep with that message. Wait, this is wrong. I didn't agree with you about Steve Nash because I thought that was a relationship thing with KD or Kyrie, and had Steve Nash been an African-American, former great point guard and everything with that relationship, I think it's possible he could have gotten that job, but that's unknowable because he's not. So I didn't agree with you there, and I don't know that I agree with you here. I think it's an interesting question you're raising.
Yeah,
but given what I just said, I don't know I agree with you.
Let me get in here quickly, Stephen A. The team that you're alluding to, don't get frustrated, Stephen A. I have information. I got information for you. Relax. You're going to have time to respond. The term is called failing up, by the way.
Molly, please don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't.
Do you want the information or no?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Yes,
okay.
I do.
So this is according to Woj, just putting it out there, that Stevens has been described as worn down since being in the bubble, and that he welcomed the chance to make the transition, and that he's going to lead the search to find the new head coach. That's what I wanted to get in there.
First of all, I was wrong about saying Masai Ujiri is the only one. Raphael Stone in Houston obviously is the new GM.
That was recent,
for the Houston Rockets. That was recent. He makes final say. So I just wanted to make sure I corrected myself. It's those two. That's number one. Number two, this is why I'm anxious to. I was anxious to get back in here, Molly and Max, because Max, to me, and no shade thrown at you whatsoever, you're making the mistake of interpreting my comments the way certain folks who are friends of mine who happen to be white have made the same mistake. When you say the racial component there with the Boston Celtics, I'm not accusing a racial component as it pertains specifically with the Boston Celtics. No more than I was accusing the Brooklyn Nets of that. No more than I was accusing Urban Meyer of that in Jacksonville. I'm fully aware that it's the relationship. It's not because somebody was white. I get that. They have relationships with these people. Sean Marks had a relationship with Steve Nash. Urban Meyer obviously has a relationship with Tim Tebow. The Boston Celtics clearly have a relationship with Brad Stevens. I'm just saying that the opportunities that were accorded to those people don't happen for black people.
Well, that's why I brought up Doc Rivers. I started with Doc Rivers.
No, I'm just talking about from a generic. I'm not talking about the individual organizations hiring somebody because they're white. That's not what I'm saying. I understand it's relationships. I'm just saying those relationships don't exist for black people. You can't be a quarterback on the NFL, leave the game for years, come back, want to be a tight end, and get an opportunity on an NFL squad. You cannot, having never coached on any level, and inherit a championship caliber squad with KD and Kyrie and James Harden on the way. And you can't be Brad Stevens, and you're struggling, and there's questions about whether or not you're going to get fired. And then turn around and you have a disinterest in coaching, and then turn around and get elevated to a front office spot. All I'm saying is,
no, I understand that's your point.
For us.
Stephen A., wait, I have no misapprehension. I want to be very clear. I understand your point crystal clear. The reason I started with the Doc Rivers example is because the examples you're using, you can say, well, that might happen for a black coach or an African-American in this situation, but unless you actually see it happen, then you're right. Then you can't use, you might say it might, well, then why hasn't it, right? That's why I start with Doc Rivers. There are examples, for example, Doc Rivers, of coaches who we just know are excellent basketball guys and excellent at what they do. And for whatever reason, it's not working out in a certain situation, so they're moved into another situation. Like Doc had the GM role taken away from him, but remained his coach. When he lost that job, he immediately got another great job because it's Doc Rivers, and everyone knows he's excellent. And maybe the Celtics feel that way about Brad Stevens. Now, what you say about relationships is true. One of the reasons for the Rooney Rule is there's a good old boy network, and if that's exclusively white, that's a problem. Some people might say, well, the good old boy network, whatever it looks like, is a problem, but certainly if it's exclusively white, it's a bigger problem. I understand the point. I'm just not sure I would apply it here to Brad Stevens. I don't know that.
But I'm not trying to apply anything specifically to Brad Stevens other than highlighting that those opportunities don't happen for us. I'm not saying it happened for him because he's white. No more than I was saying that about Tebow or Steve Nash. I'm saying those things highlight to black people. We sit back, Molly and Max, and we go like this.
Didn't Isaiah?
That won't happen for us.
When Isaiah was with the Knicks, he bounced between coach and GM, and he was not having a lot of success, but it was Isaiah Thomas, and he bounced between coach and GM.
But we're like struggling to find one example, and we have a million examples.
Not the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
Okay, but the Sixers are. That's true, but the Sixers are a great job, and Doc got that 1, 2, 3.
Max, but Doc Rivers has been a coach for 20 plus years. The point is that with the Isaiah Thomas thing that you brought up, you said you could coach the Brooklyn Nets to a title with the roster that they had.
Got that.
So
you guys,
what challenge is there?
Let me bring in Kendrick Perkins. Obviously, or we're going to get Kendrick Perkins after the break because we went a little long with that. All right, we'll get Perk after the break, get his thoughts. Obviously, he won a chip with the Boston Celtics. We'll take a quick.
Have errands to run for me when you get here in New York because you lost one of those bets? I think you do. LeBron James and the Lakers are losing tonight. They are losing. And if they win tonight, I will let Kendrick Perkins off the hook. He will not have to.
But what if they lose?
But if I'm right, Kendrick Perkins, and they lose, I'm going to double up, brother.
I'm taking that bet because I believe that the greatest, one of the greatest in your eyes of all time, is going to go out there and deliver in great fashion tonight.
Does anybody have anything to say to each other?
Carry on.
Okay, then I'll go ahead.
I'm gonna let Kendrick Perkins speak. I'm not the one that has explaining to do. He does.
What you mean? And Max, first of all,
you told us to carry. You told us to carry on. You told us to carry the hell on. Lakers are winning. Did that happen?
No, it didn't. And you know what? Hey, look, I'm on to my bet, okay? But I got a question to ask, all right? I have a question to ask. What the hell are the role players doing? And I get it. LeBron James only took 19 shots. He probably should have took 25 or 30. But what the hell is Dennis Schroeder doing? What is Caldwell Pope doing? What is Andre Drummond doing? You know what? At the start of the game, the first play of the game, they ran a play. Frank Vogel drew up a hell of a play on the baseline, a misdirection play where it was a cross screen for Andre Drummond. He turned around and did like a little pin down for Caldwell Pope in the corner. He was wide open and he passed the shot. From that point there, I knew it was going to be hell in the cell. I wanted to text you right there, Stephen A., and tell you no bet. Because, look, at the end of the day, superstars are going to be superstars. And I get that, right? They're going to have their moments. They're going to have their 20-plus a night. But role players help you win games in the playoffs, which help you win series. And right now, the Lakers are not getting a damn thing from their role players. Dennis Schroeder finished with 0 points last night. 0, a goose egg. Him and Caldwell Pope. The Phoenix Suns, young Cass and Cameron Payne, Cam Johnson, Brick, all are outplaying this veteran group is disturbing to me. And I look at the game that actually happened to be the game of the night, which was the Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers, and Dame Lillard in the historic performance that he put on last night. And I said, you know what? You know what was the common denominator on why the Denver Nuggets won that damn game? It wasn't because of Jokic having 38. It wasn't because of Michael Porter Jr. having 26. It was because of Morris, who outscored the entire Portland bench and had 28 points. Role players matter. Look, you could depend on your stars. You could talk about LeBron and Anthony Davis, but your role players have to step up.
Listen, man, I would tell you that I'm going to attach some level of culpability to LeBron James because you are the leader, and your supporting cast that showed up soft and unproductive and with no fight in them. That's a direct reflection on him to some degree, but a larger reflection on Frank Vogel, because where was your defensive game plan? Your starting lineup, you had never started them together all season long. Montrezl Harrell, how the hell have you utilized him? You know Anthony Davis is injury prone. I'm not going to disrespect him and call him street clothes, even though it was funny as hell that Charles Barkley said that. But I'm certainly not going to disrespect him like that because I know he's injured and I know he wants it. He wants to be out there. But if you hurt, you hurt, and that's just how it goes. But I'm just going to look at it from that perspective and say, what about Frank Vogel? Your defensive schemes, the personnel that you put in there, who you prepared to be ready in the event that Anthony Davis wouldn't be ready. All of this is a reflection on Coach Frank Vogel. Now, if you don't mind, KP, I'd like to move on from that, and let's get back to the Boston Celtics if that's where we're going, because I got to admit, my whole mood has changed with this kind of nonsense. I'm just in a different place right now. I'm in no mood to play around with the kind of stuff that I'm seeing going on.
No, and I'm with you, but that sounds like you letting me off the bet. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you letting me off this bet. Thank you. Let's move on.
All right. Yeah,
Perk is down to 84% on his predictions, according to my calculations, Molly.
Yeah, 85%, 100% of the time. All right, Perk, let's go there. Stephen A. just teed you up, but to reiterate the news against Danny Ainge stepping down, Brad Stevens, a full-time role in the front office, and he's going to lead the coaching search for the Boston Celtics. You are a former Celtic. What are your thoughts on these moves?
Well, first of all, this goes back to the treatment of African American coaches, okay? Because once an African American coach get fired, guess what? There's no moving up in the front office roles. No, once you're fired, you are fired. And so what they did was they wanted to get rid of Brad Stevens. I had a feeling, and I've been saying this all year long, that he is the problem. I felt like he couldn't coach Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but instead of firing them, they didn't just fire him. They just said, you know what, he's going to move up into a front office role, keep his job. The same with like a guy with like Lawrence Frank. But when Nate McMillan get fired, no, he gets fired. He had to go in as an assistant under Atlanta Hawks. That's the whole problem I have with the situation. Did I see this coming? No, I did not see Danny Ainge expecting to step down. I did not. I talked to Danny Ainge a lot. He never mentioned it to me one time. That's the problem I have with this situation.
I hear you guys about the racial component, and it's the extent of it is unknowable, but probably present. It's hard to escape. I would point out that Doc Rivers, who's a great coach, and everyone knows he's a great coach, didn't do as well as expected with the Clippers. They took his GM role away, but kept him as coach because he was a better coach than GM. And when he lost that job, he immediately got another great job because he's Doc Rivers with the Sixers. And there are other examples. I mentioned years ago, Isaiah Thomas went back for GM, coach, both with the Knicks. And Stephen A., you point out, but never someone who just got handed a job like Steve Nash did with the Nets, although, again, that was based on relationships he had with the best players who are African-American. And I suspect, but there's no way to prove it, that were Nash black, he would have still gotten that job, but maybe not. Like, you know, you can't say that for sure. I think the Celtics think a lot of Brad Stevens, I think, as a basketball guy, and a little less of him as a coach with this group of guys for now, but wanted to keep him in the organization. And there are other examples throughout basketball history. I think of Jerry West and Pat Riley, who were co-coaches, and Jerry West said, no, he's the coach, and Jerry West went to the front office, that were also kind of weird like this, and that's where my mind goes.
Yep. And I said this earlier, Perk, when you weren't on the show. I think the term to describe it is called failing up. Not sure if you guys feel that it fits here, but it sounds like it. Perk, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon, sir. Snoop had some choice news. Okay, so Danny Ainge stepping down as president of basketball operations. Brad Stevens will move into a full-time front office role. and he will lead the coaching search for the Boston Celtics. Stephen A., we had some technical difficulties, lost your shot. I want to get your response here to what Kendrick Perkins had to say, that he didn't see this coming.
Well, he didn't see this coming. I didn't see it either. But, I particularly don't care as it pertains to Danny Ainge. He's had a long enough career as an executive, and if he ends up landing someplace else, I'd applaud it because he deserves it, because he has a resume that speaks to that. I throw no shade on Danny Ainge. I do think that he should have went after Anthony Davis a bit harder. But then again, with Anthony Davis perpetually injured, we understand why he may have been reluctant to do so. As it pertains to this, here's what I want to do. Again, when we talk about Steve Nash, we talk about Tim Tebow, we talk about, Brad Stevens and stuff like that. I want to call out the NBA players. You got something to say about everything else? Where you at? We got you got some people out there that saying Raphael Stone ain't making the final calls, even though Fertitta and the Houston Rockets swear that he is. Okay, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You got Masai Ujiri in Canada. You got Raphael Stone in Houston after everybody's departed and he basically has no team. They ain't African Americans that have been toiling through the terrain and trying to become executives in the National Basketball Association. Last time I checked, that's the case. We see coaches on the sideline. They don't want to become head coaches. They've been assistants for years. You got a guy like Phil Handy in Los Angeles that's been an assistant everywhere he's gone to get championships. Cleveland, Toronto, and LA. Okay? And it wasn't just LeBron. It was Kawhi, too. There's a plethora of guys. You got Sam Cassell. He's going to be a hell of a coach one day in the NBA if he gets that opportunity. Chauncey Billups. Everybody was talking about he had an opportunity to get an executive position. And then suddenly it dwindles. But Steve Nash, who we love and respect, great dude, got a black agent, one of the great ones, Mr. Bill Duffy. Steve Nash never coached on any level. And not only does he get the job, he gets the job with the full support of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who, by the way, never insisted that a black candidate be interviewed and be put front and center so we'll know who that individual is. We got Brad Stevens here. It's Boston. Tatum's your star. Jaylen Brown's your star. We understand what role that they play, particularly Jaylen Brown, in social justice issues. We're supposed to be woke. We're supposed to understand that knee on George Floyd's neck wasn't just about violence and police brutality. It was also the figurative semblance that it provided, where you're feeling like constantly people have their knee on your neck since the time you come out of the womb. We've been talking about all of this stuff, and people are willing to say, oh, Stephen A's bringing up race. Oh, Stephen A's bringing up George Floyd and equating that to Tebow. No, I'm not. What I'm saying is, from a figurative perspective, what we witnessed and what got the nation up and it just inspired was because what we saw was symptomatic and emblematic of how we feel as a people, consistently being marginalized, consistently being minimized, consistently being underappreciated, undervalued. And in a world of sports, where you got dudes with guaranteed contracts making money that would secure their generations of family, you got folks hesitant to speak up. You got players, NBA players are some of the most powerful people in this world. When have they spoken up for black coaches? When? When have they spoken up for black executives, GMs, president of basketball operations? When has that happened? LeBron, all of them, everybody. Where the hell have they been? Nobody's done anything. And then when we the media, we bring it up, and you got white folks out here gonna sit up there and look at Stephen A. and say, oh, here he is bringing up race. And none of the black players speak up and say, yo, he got a point. Yo, he's right. Yo, there's something that needs to be done here. Do y'all want me to bring up the Rooney Rule and how it might be needed in basketball? Oh, I forgot. I can't do that. Why? Because the Rooney Rule ain't even working in the damn NFL. So when are we gonna say something about it? You know what? I'm going to walk away. I'll be right back because I'm scared I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble because I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
Yeah, Perk, you want to respond?
I mean, I see his point, man. And Max, to be honest, he has a valid point because, you hear guys, especially a guy like Kyrie. You hear guys, he always bring up racism. He always talk about this, that, and the other. And look, I applaud him. because he's active in the community. But at the end of the day, Stephen A. Smith has a point. You have assistant coaches out here, like he named, Coach Phil Handy, Coach Sam Cassell, who has been longtime assistants, and the same African-American brothers that are in place of power right now would not put their job or would not put their title on the front line and stand on the front line and speak out for these coaches to get head coaching jobs. But these are the same brothers that will use them in the summertime or use them for player development to get their skill better, but they're not able to help coach them. So I feel his anger. I feel his anger 100%. So this is why we're so divided in the world. And this is why you have the conversation, and we're having a conversation about Myers and Tim Tebow, and everybody is mad. But all Myers is doing is looking out for his boy. He's looking out for his boy. He gave his boy Tim Tebow a job. When there's others out there that are more deserving and have the credentials and have been and still in the game or haven't been away from the game like Tim Tebow, but he looked out for his kind, and that's what Stephen A. Smith is saying.
I think the elephant in the room is that this happened with the Celtics. That's the elephant in the room. And the Celtics, fair or unfair, because the Celtics were the team to field the first all-black starting five, right? Like I told a story, Melly Mel, back, I'm hanging out with him once, 10 or 15 years ago, and he had a Celtics jacket on. I was like, what's that about? You're from the Bronx. They started the first black starting five. I've always been a fan since then. So maybe it's unfair to the Celtics organization, and they have this great history. But, even the word Celtic or Celtic, right? And you're dealing with an area with a big Celtic population of Irish American, Scottish American, everything else. And that is white, obviously. And in the modern era, after the Bill Russell era, the greatest teams were with Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Danny Ainge. They were white stars. Ainge wasn't a star, but he was the shooter, and he started. And I think that because they have a reputation, fans in the area, again, fair or unfair, Kyrie Irving just recently brought up, I hope there's no subtle racism when I go back. And he stepped on Lucky, their mascot, their logo, right, which is also a Celtic character. And I think so race, the idea that a white coach loses his job and then becomes GM, then what Molly said, there's a sense of failing upward and that there's some racial component to it. I think that's the elephant in the room. Whether or not you agree with it or want to talk about it, I think that's what's on many people's minds when they hear this news. I can't ignore that it occurs to me.
All right, I'll just wrap it up by saying this. I will never understand what it is like to be black and to walk in your shoes, Stephen A., or Kendrick, and I understand your frustration and empathize and sympathize and stand with you because it's got to be completely infuriating to constantly see it and to constantly see the unfairness in your face. And I respect Stephen A. walking away because that's the right thing you can do.
Yeah. But you know what's crazy, Molly, and I appreciate you. But you know what's crazy is that we could come, like myself in particular, I'll come on TV. And if I disagree with anything that my African American brothers are doing in the NBA, just a disagreement, not about racism or just to disagree to this point. You know what I get called? I get called the sellout. I get called the coon when I'm just voicing my opinion about basketball takes. But here it is. You got actual guys out here who are making hundreds of millions of dollars and got a lot of power to put people in position to be successful, people that you see and shake hands and call on a day-to-day basis, and you don't do that. But you rather sit up here and call out a Stephen A. Smith, you rather call out a Jalen Rose, or you rather call out a Kendrick Perkins because we don't stick to the point, or we doing it because we're cooning.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it. It's the night, New York in the house, and we're introducing a brand new segment. It's called The Battle. So here's the deal. Both Stephen A. and Max will give 3 reasons for who takes Game 5 tonight. We'll have 45 seconds to convince us how this will all go down. And let's start with Knicks loyal himself. Stephen A., you're on the clock. Your first reason on who wins Game 5.
Well, my first reason is going to be Julius Randle. He's shooting 20 of 73 in this series. I can't believe that the most improved player of the year winner, who averaged 24 and 10 on better than 40% shooting from three-point range this year, is going to continue to stink up the joint and wet the bed. And when Clint Capella is talking about them the way that he just did, and thus far, he's right, can't be disputed, but you damn sure can dispute it tonight if you're Julius Randle. Be a man amongst boys, no fallaways, take it to the hole, take it to the rack, try to go right, but if you have to go left, I don't give a damn. Try to go right, though. Take it to the post, get them big boys in some foul trouble, and play bruising big basketball. Will over skill. That's what this comes down to. I believe Julius Randle can do it. He has to.
That's a dude grasping at straws, will over skill. You're just praying and hoping. The first reason is Trae Young. And I don't have to talk about prayers and hopes and will over skill with Trae Young. He absorbs so much of the defense with the outside shooting that loosens up the defense for everyone else, not to mention the attacking the paint where he can also finish in the paint. He's a poor man's Steph Curry. Only he's really good under pressure, it seems to me. Trae Young makes everyone around him better. He's not just an empty calorie stats guy shooting from distance. His offense makes the entire offense work better. Bogdanovich, everybody, whoever's on the floor with Trae Young benefits from him being there. So not only can he give you 30, but other guys get better as a result. That's why the Hawks right now have control of this series.
Stephen A., reason 2?
Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is averaging 21.5 points a game in this series. He's played well. Listen, and he's been the best player for the New York Knicks, if we're being quite honest. I think tonight, in front of that Garden crowd, galvanized and motivated by that crowd, I think that Derrick Rose shows up, attack the basket with more vigor. Make sure you take those open threes, too. Don't give the ball to R.J. Barrett if the brother ain't making shots in the first quarter, because that means he's going to miss it the next 3. At some point in time, Julius Randle and R.J. got to come out swinging. They got to come out aggressive and efficient. And if you're Derrick Rose, you have the power to make sure that that happens. You take the ball into your hands. You do what you need to do. It's one game at a time, baby. That's all. It's just one game at a time. It's about tonight. It's game 5.
Just facing elimination.
You
know you're facing elimination, right?
And you shoot open shots.
Dude,
one game at a time.
You went from Randle to, oh well, Randle can't do it, so Derrick Rose is going to do it real quick. Your point number 2 negates your point number 1. And let me give you my second point. Let me tell you why. Number 1 is Trae Young. That's why the Hawks are going to win. You know what number 2 is, Stephen A.? Julius Randle! Julius Randle is the second reason the Hawks are going to win. It's not even his fault. He is miscast as the primary scoring option. That is not Julius Randle. You got up and demonstrated. College basketball player Stephen A. from a million years ago couldn't help himself. Got up in studio and demonstrated. I would just wait for him to go left. Put your hands in your pocket. What? You think the Hawks don't know that? They understand, and they got Clint Capella on the floor, too. In the paint, forget it. Julius Randle cannot be your number 1 scoring option, but here's the problem. I don't really think he's a number 2 scoring option in a playoff situation. I think he's best served as a 3 scoring option, but he's the 1, which is why you immediately move to Derrick Rose, because you're bailing out on Randle already. D-Rose, save us.
The clock has failed us. This is a work in progress, but I'm keeping track here. So Stephen A., you're up with your final reason.
My final reason is the Garden. It's Madison Square Garden. You wouldn't know anything about that, Max, because you're a traitor. You betrayed New York City. You don't even belong in New York. You shouldn't even be allowed to do the show from South Street Seaport. Here's the bottom line. The New York Knicks, Madison Square Garden, game 2. It was rocking. The arena was literally shaking, Max. It was shaking. That's how electrifying the environment was. And that's why the Atlanta Hawks folded beneath that pressure in the fourth quarter. Well, guess what? They're going to show up, and they're going to show out in game 5. And here's something extra that they're going to do. They're going to remind Julius Randle, you got a max contract at stake, my brother. Now, you're going to get about $100 million. but you got an opportunity to make more than 120. You're going to cost yourself about anywhere from 20 to $30 million if you don't show up tonight, Julius Randle, and the New York Knicks get sent home in 5 games.
His whole argument every time is on Julius Randle. You're right about the Garden, Stephen A. That's my third point, too. The third reason the Hawks are going to win are fans like you, Stephen A. Smith. Fans like you. You call me a traitor. I'm a trader, E-R. I left the Knicks because as long as fans like you, and I was like you once upon a time, enable the losing culture at the Garden, good enough is good enough. Back before the Nets were in town, they didn't have to make the playoffs. Now the Nets are taking over the world. Okay, Dolan's got to get serious. At least you make the playoffs, and you're happy with a few crumbs. New York, stand up. We made the playoffs. 1 win so far in a first-round playoff series. You're all acting like it's a championship. That's why you're never going to win a championship, because of fans like you at Madison Square Garden. That's the third reason that the Atlanta Hawks are going to knock the Knicks out.
You crawl before you walk. You crawl before you walk. We understand what we are. We don't have championship expectations. We know better than that. But you crawl before you walk, okay?
Get out of here.
This series, this first round series was winnable. You understand? And you know
We've
they
been crawling for 47 years.
But it is what it is.
Okay.
New York, we're crawling for 47 years. Get up off your knees, New York.
Oh.
Brooklyn.
The knees.
Brooklyn.
That's disrespectful.
Well, they're crawling. They're crawling before you walk. The Nets are running. They're running laps around people.
All right, Max picking with his head, Stephen A. with his heart. We will leave it. We're going big time now. We got a legend joining us, and of course, I want to get his thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and all the drama going on with him, hanging out in Hawaii. His wide receivers aren't at OTAs. He's not at OTAs. We will discuss it all with the legend and Super Bowl winning coach, Bill Cowher. Coach, thank you so much for being with us. And I just want to say quickly, I was thinking about it. The last time I saw you, you probably won't remember this. I think I was 24 or 25 years old, working at CBS Sports Network, Chelsea Piers, working with Tom Leving, covering high school football. And I did a segment with you. I was so nervous, and you were so nice and so patient, and I will never forget that. So thank you for putting up with me, and it's so great to have you. Let's get to Aaron Rodgers, though. What are your thoughts on how the Packers have handled this?
Well, I mean, I think it's still June, right? So I think everything right now gets a little bit probably blown out of proportion. But I think this all goes back to a year ago and the draft of Jordan Love. And it just seemed very odd to me at that time, with a guy who's got a career of at least another contract ahead of him, I think, because of what the way the game is today. We see Tom Brady playing into his 40s, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees. And they're one game away from going to a championship game to supply him maybe with another weapon. But that being said, he came back and had a great year. So I think it all comes back to that right now. And, again, I think he all plays out. I don't think we got to deal with him not being at OTAs and everything else. So I think we'll have to see how it plays out as we close to the camp.
Coach, appreciate you being on the show. Always good to see you, sir. I got to ask you this question. To me, forget Jordan Love. What I've religiously stated is that clearly it's a situation, and I was told this on good authority, that essentially on several occasions, this superstar of an athlete, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, goes up to management, makes suggestions about what he'd like to see with the organization in order to put him in a better position to win. And he was summarily basically told, hey, you know what? You play, we run the organization. And was summarily dismissed. I think this is about respect. I'd like you to speak to how important it is for a player, particularly one of his caliber, to feel like he is respected by the organization he plays for and represents. How important is that, particularly in today's NFL?
Well, I think it's always been important, Stephen, that a player feels a sense of ownership of the locker room. This is your leader. He's a guy you have to listen to. Doesn't mean you're always going to answer every question or give him everything he wants, but he needs to have input, and that is about respect. That's being a good listener. I go back to when I was coaching, and it's in this book I talk about very openly. Art and Steel was a book I just wrote about the relationship I had with management with Cordell Stewart. Shannon Daly left. I have Cordell Stewart. Who do you want to come in and help run this offense? And he was a big part of decision making. Rod Woodson will walk off the sideline. We need to blitz more, coach. And I tell Don Capers, no, we need to blitz more. players have to have input because they're the ones out there playing. I think good coaches, good organizations recognize that. Again, there's certain structures and guidelines you have to abide by and stick to. But boy, you like to feel like they're a part of what you're trying to build.
Coach, it's great to have you on the show. As most football fans know, if you grew up, you were a little kid in the 70s, you either rooted for the Cowboys or the Steelers if your home team stunk, right? And if you didn't have a soul, you rooted for the Cowboys. And nevertheless, I've rooted for the Steelers, as Stephen A. did. And there have only been three coaches in my lifetime. Even if you went, 10 years before I was born, 3 coaches in my lifetime, and you're one of them. And the reason for that is you guys win all the time, and Tomlin's done that. Never been under 500. But the division with the Browns and the Ravens and even the Bengals on the come up. Do the Steelers make the playoffs this year? They won 12 games last year. Did they make the playoffs this year?
I think they will. They'll be in the hunt, Max. When you look at them, yes, the division's got tougher, but you look, I love the pick of Najee Harris. I think they need to get back to running the football and having more balance in the offense. We'll take a little bit of that pressure off of Ben. He's got a lot of weapons. The offense is going to be circle. It's all going to come down to the offensive line. There's a lot of changes taking place there. If they can come together, the best way to help an offensive line, run the football. And defensively, they get Devin Bush back, and that's a top-tier defense. So, yes, the division's gotten better, but they've got a lot of veterans in that locker room that know how to win close games, and that's what it's going to come down to. And they've got a great kicker and kicking game. So I think they're going to be in the hunt, and, yes, I would say they will make the playoffs.
Coach, let's stay with the Steelers because I was going to play some sound here quick for Coach. Your quarterback, Stephen A., Big Ben. Let me play that and let you react here, Coach.
That's where I was going.
I'm going to approach this like I do every season, like it's my last. I mean, I think that's the approach you have to take. And you don't approach it that way because it could be your last, but you approach it because every single play in the game of football could be your last. Every game could be your last game. And that just means I'm going out to give it everything I have. I've never looked towards the future. I've always looked towards the right here and now.
Coach, do you see this as Big Ben's last year?
Oh, it probably will be. I would think so, and I think he does. He lives by that. He is taking it 1 year at a time. But I certainly would think this would be. And, he wanted to come back. It didn't end the way he wanted it to. I think he missed it 2 years ago, a whole season, and I think he realized at that time how much football meant to him. And I think he's applied himself a little differently and looked at things differently, and not taking anything for granted. Yeah, I do believe this will be his last year, and I think what they've done try to do is bring everybody else back. They've brought Juju back and try to re-sign a lot of the players. And so this will be kind of, I think it's a farm song right here.
Coach, how good do you feel these Steelers will be this season? You got a veteran at the quarterback spot in Big Ben Roethlisberger. You got about 5 wideouts. You drafted Najee Harris. You're getting back Devin Bush, like you pointed out, on the defensive side of the ball. And the defense, last time I checked, wasn't too shabby. It's top 5.
No.
How good do you think the Steelers will be this year? And do you think they're being underestimated?
Well, I'm not sure what people are looking at them at. I go back to the same thing. It comes down to that offensive line. They lost Marquise Pouncey, and that was a big part of what they want to do. Alejandro left and went to Villanueva, went to the Baltimore Ravens, a left tackle. So there's some new people coming in right there, and that offensive line needs to gel. And they go back to the same thing. Najee Harris can catch the ball out of the backfield, but you bring him in there to build an offense around running the football. That will take the pressure off the quarterback. If the play action game goes, you have now, as you pointed out, the group of receivers that they have. And defensively, getting Devin Bush back, that is a good defense. So, again, they can stay healthy. The offensive line can play well. They will be in the hunt.
Coach, we haven't asked you about Julio Jones yet. It looks like he's out of there. Where do you think he ends up?
My first thought, if you think about a veteran late in his career, where do you go to flourish? New England, right? I mean, they all do. But I think the one thing I keep seeing is Russell Wilson. Last year, they're trying to get Antonio Brown. And so where Russell Wilson is right now, you talk about him wanting to have input as well. We talked about Aaron Rodgers earlier. I could see Julio Jones in Seattle. I think it'll be a great compliment to DK Metcalf. And I think you're going to get a player that's out to prove himself, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. So I would look at that. And again, it goes back to what does Atlanta asking for him and what people are going to be willing to give up for him, where he is in his career.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Player, coach, analyst, now author. I love the title, Heart and Steel. It's out, Coach. Why'd you decide to write this?
You know, Molly, when I got in the Hall of Fame, you start to reflect on your football life. And when the pandemic came, I started to reflect on my life. And so you start to think about how you grew up, where you grew up. And so I decided I wanted to write a book, but getting the right collaborator was important. So the collaboration I got was with Michael Hawley. And Michael Hawley went to Point Park College, which is in Pittsburgh, grew up in Northeast Ohio. As we sat down and did this, I told him I didn't want a football book. I was my football, family, and one's life journey of lessons learned. And that's what this book is really about. So hopefully I think you'll enjoy it. I reveal a lot more than I ever had publicly. And so, there's a lot of heartaches, there's opportunities, there's lessons in there, but it's all about personal growth, as we talked about from where I grew up in Crafton to where I am today.
Coach, thank you so much for being with us, and I can't wait to read it. I'm always looking to grow, and especially from greats like yourself. So thank you so much for the time today. It was a lot of fun.
Back in the day, Michael Hawley. Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
Coach.
choice.
Thank you, Coach.
Enjoy it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. We'll talk to you. When we comparison, and that is Steph Curry. Max.
Yeah.
Who would you want most in the playoffs?
Oh, Damian Lillard, easily. Look, it seems like I'm piling on Steph with this stuff, but let's be honest, everybody. Steph won a championship, when LeBron didn't have Kyrie or Kevin Love. Still went 6 games. Stop. By the way, he wasn't MVP of that series. They looked at, we can't give this to Steph. All right, give it to the guy who guarded LeBron. Iguodala got it. And then he lost a 73-win season to LeBron, and then they added KD. Steph was no longer the best player on the team, and they won 2 championships. He's played in 5 finals, has yet to win a finals MVP. Come on, Damian Lillard, we see it with our eyes. He hasn't been on teams like Steph's been on, not even close. But Damian Lillard, from this era so far, is one of the most clutch performers, period. He might be the most clutch performer. Even last night was bananas. Not his fault guys were missing shots. No, in the playoffs when it matters most, Stephen A., you know what Steph did, win or go home? In overtime, the reason they're not still playing when they needed him to be at his best? 0 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds in the last 3:30 of overtime. Warriors not playing anymore. Now compare that to what Damian Lillard just did, 55 in double overtime. Kept bringing them back from the dead. Under pressure in the playoffs, it's really not a knock against Steph, but under pressure in the playoffs, easily, Damian Lillard.
Not for me. We're analyzing it differently. No surprise there. But I will tell you this. Here's what I think you're missing. When you look, last night was a perfect example as to why I wouldn't pick Damian Lillard. And I believe that Damian Lillard is arguably, we're talking Michael Jordan status when it comes to clutch. This brother, you put the ball in his hands. Damian Lillard is something to behold. And next to Steph Curry, there's nobody that is his equal as a point guard in the NBA from a marksmanship standpoint. I get all of that. He's that elite. It's a close call. But here's why I pick Steph Curry. I think Steph Curry is the greatest shooter God has ever created. Damian Lillard even concedes that, number one.
No doubt.
Number 2, Steph Curry's movement without the ball and what it creates for teammates, particularly those who can make shots, cannot go unnoticed. Last night was an example. Damian Lillard himself was spectacular, but everybody around him had contested shots. Everyone. Nobody is necessarily getting open because Damian Lillard will give it to you. He got the ball in his hands and he'll shoot, he'll take you down. But with Steph Curry, because of his movement without the basketball and how frightening he is due to his range, it not only forces defenses to extend, but it creates a level of paranoia because you literally have to watch, where is he? Hold on. I'll let you speak. Hold on. You got to have your head on a swivel, watch for everybody else. And then with Steph Curry, he scares you so much. You literally watched Memphis concede and the Lakers concede. The hell with everybody else. And literally put 3 and 4 guys on him in pivotal plays, daring anybody else to shoot just so he wouldn't. And those kind of things, that's when it comes to shooting, even when Steph doesn't shoot, because of the paranoia he creates, because of his movement without the basketball, why I would always pick him above anybody else when it comes to shooting.
I think those are excellent points. I'm not going back against those points. I agree with those points. Here's the problem, Stephen A. However you want to slice it, I saw a 73-win team with the fate of the universe on the line against the LeBron James team trying to be the greatest team ever, beat the Bulls 72-win season. You got to win the championship. They're at home. They have the greatest half-court offense in history. Steph is the conductor of that offense. They went the last 4 minutes and 22 seconds in the fourth quarter without scoring a point, and Steph was awful.
Hold it.
And they lost that. Hold on, that's one. Two, I just mentioned the 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists. Stephen A., here's the bottom line. If Steph had Damian Lillard's clutch gene, we wouldn't be asking, is he the GOAT shooter? We know he is. Or among the GOAT point guards. If Steph had Lillard's clutch gene, he'd be in the GOAT conversation, period.
Hold on.
If he was performed under pressure like Damian Lillard, he'd be in the GOAT conversation.
But Damian Lillard is not in the GOAT conversation for whatever reason. So the point is, that's neither here nor there. The point is negated. At the end of the day, Damian Lillard, I'm not holding it against him, but Damian Lillard once got swept by Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday. I'm not holding that against him. You keep bringing up the 73-win season. You keep bringing up stuff about Clay from years ago. From Steph from years ago. Yeah, all of those things are to be acknowledged. There are things that we could acknowledge in the past about Damian Lillard too. It doesn't take away from their greatness. They're both phenomenal. They're both future first ballot Hall of Famers. Damian Lillard is on another level. Clutch-wise, we talk about Michael Jordan status. But even he would concede. Steph Curry's the greatest shooter ever. Ever. Yeah. When we ask that question, that's where I'm going with.
Yeah. On 80 points in Game 5, tying an NBA playoff record. Fellas, let's keep it rolling. It is no secret that Snoop is an LA icon. The Dogfather reps his Lakers as hard as Spike Lee goes for his Knicks. Purple and gold skies, Stephen A. When Snoop was asked about the Clippers, the JV team to most LA natives back in January on Stephen A's World, he had this to say.
Laker to a Clipper, man, I can't be faded. Come on, man. We're talking about the Clippers, the team that has 0 banners, that are the opening night champions for 14 years straight, have no banners, no nothing. Kawhi is a great player. Paul George is a great player. They got great coaches and the homies on their team. They do a great job, but they're not the Lakers, man. It's just something about that purple and gold, man. And it's like they need to get a whole new stadium and get a whole new stigma because they're never going to win playing in our living room.
Gotta be Gucci's with the bees. But last night, after his Lakers got embarrassed in Phoenix, he posted this gem on IG and had me dying. Look at the last line. Never thought I'd say it, but we're sorry. The Clippers better than us. Frank Vogel can't coach. And why the F Montrezl Harrell isn't getting no run. This is heartbreaking. AD hurt more than Mary J. Blige records we saw. Q, not gonna cry. Clippers Mavs all tied up at Game 2, a pivotal Game 5 tonight at Staples Center. Kawhi is third in points per game this postseason, averaging 33. Keep in mind, Kawhi is from California. Stephen A. Does Kawhi have the best chance to become the king of LA?
The best chance to become the king of LA? No. They haven't won anything yet. Last time I checked, LeBron has the ring. He's the reigning defending NBA champion. And even if he loses Thursday night or Saturday, it does not mean that the Clippers win. I will say this, however. Snoop Dogg, by the way, for y'all, for both of y'all to know, Snoop Dogg couldn't make it on the show this morning because he's filming a movie in Atlanta, Georgia, as we speak. So he couldn't get loose to come on First Take this morning. That's why he's not here. But he did send me a text that wanted to elaborate further on the quote that he put on Instagram. Quote, Lakers, too many non-shooters, soft-ass guards in our rotation, can't guard, can't shoot, we doomed. Clippers may come out of the West, and I wouldn't even be mad at this point. If Kawhi and PG-13 faced Brooklyn for it all, popcorn, get it ready. Yep. That's what he said. So I understand where he's coming from. I understand how we looking at the Clippers. But I would remind y'all that Damian Lillard dude that we just finished talking about, they still alive. Jokic, who you were talking about earlier, they still alive. And by the way, the Utah Jazz, even though Memphis is still alive, we expect Utah to win that series with a healthy Donovan Mitchell. They the favorites. So let's not forget all of those things as we sit here and talk about Kawhi as the king of LA. Just because the Lakers are out don't make you the king. You gotta win.
The answer is, does Kawhi have the best chance to replace LeBron as the king of LA? Is yes. Yes, he does. He has the best chance. I may have been a year early on my LeBron decline prediction and Kawhi taking over prediction. And this is not like, will the Clippers flip LA? That'll never happen. That could happen with the Knicks and the Nets. You know why? The Knicks don't have the same equity in this town. They haven't won in so long. Lakers got crazy equity in LA. They've given that city more glory and championships than anybody. That town's never going to be a Clippers town over a Lakers town. But, Stephen A., we know this is true. And Molly, you've lived in LA. I've lived in LA. And Stephen A., you're out there all the time. Lakers fans and, say, Kobe fans are not always the same thing. Right? There's a big overlap, but there are people who are just Kobe fans.
Yeah.
There are Lakers fans who, if the Lakers are sorry and the Clippers are a powerhouse, will root for Kawhi and Paul George, especially since they're from there. So will they flip the town the way the Nets are about to flip New York? Because the Knicks have been sorry for so long. That's never going to happen in LA. Clippers will never flip it. But dudes like Kawhi and Paul George, yes, they can run the town, even if they're not on the Lakers, because they'll be hometown heroes who are balling in the absence of the Lakers' presence. So, yeah, Kawhi could become king of LA. That could happen.
One thing,
you. I just think to be the king, you got to have a crown. You got to have a crown.
Yeah, you're going to have to win.
You can't be the king just because LeBron loses. You got to win.
You're going to have to win.
Let me just say one thing, and I haven't lived in LA in a while, but I lived there about 4 years. And Stephen A., get in on this. When Max says that he knows Lakers fans that if the Lakers are out would root for the Clippers, I do not know any. Any Laker fan I know is so die-hard for the purple.
No, I didn't say Clippers. Kawhi and Paul George.
I don't know that.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
you may have corrected yourself, but you originally said the Clippers.
Yeah, I've never heard of a Lakers fan that would also root for Kawhi and Paul George or the Clippers. Ever.
What would Snoop say if they play Brooklyn? Get the popcorn. Who do you think Snoop be pulling for?
No, he didn't say he'd root for the Clippers. He just said that they would be in the position, and he can't be mad because he's so disgusted at the Lakers. I didn't read you anything that said he'd root for the Clippers.
Yeah.
Snoop's got to come on and answer that. He didn't say.
All right, well then create the question. Don't act like he said it when he didn't.
Well, that's
all I know is if the Giants are out, I'm never rooting for the Jets. Hey, Stephen A., your Knicks, you nervous? You going tonight? What's the deal?
New York, stand up. New York, stand up. New York, stand up. You know, listen,
that's weak
I got
today.
business to handle.
Can you do that with a little more intensity?
Please,
that was the weakest version.
Clip that, and put it next to how he sounded before Game 4. New York, stand up.
Yeah. New York, stand up. What are we in a library? Is that your 6-inch voices?
Stand up.
That's sad. You're sad right now. I'm disappointed in you for that.
They put Stephen A. in a library. The Knicks just put Stephen A. in a library. They gave him laryngitis.
I'm just saying. I'm struggling. New York, stand up.
Goodbye, everybody.
New York,
we'll
stand
see you
up.
tomorrow.
New York, stand up.
Oh, I guess we have a little more. So